Good morning, folks, or evening, whatever, I'm not picky. The time has come for the ever-popular full-on 100% character creation tutorial. At the time this video was made, the Hicks Under Draconis rulebook was not available for download, but it is more or less complete, save for some editing and a few pictures, so the information you see here will be applicable to your experience once you have the book itself. This video will also give you a brief tour of the book, so let's dive right in. Here's the table of contents, which splits the book into 3 distinct areas. The first one is lore, and contains a big chunk of the overall history and setting information for the HSD universe. There's more lore spread throughout the book, but the big picture for the setting is in this section here. While it is not imperative to read the lore section to play the game, it doesn't actually have any rules in it. I do highly recommend it. HSD is a very narrative-driven system, and many parts of character creation directly correlate with the setting itself. So if you skip over it, you're going to hit those places and not really have any idea what they're referring to. Plus, come on, it's fun. What's the point of playing a role-playing game without knowing what role you're playing? The second part is character creation, and it includes all the chapters associated with the actual assembly of your character, in order. If you start from the beginning of this section and head on through to the end, you'll emerge with a fully functional character to play with. Lots of options in here, but once you've gone through it a couple times, character creation is very quick. I'd say you should book about an hour or more for your first attempt doing this with a party of new players because you'll have to read all your options. Subsequent attempts after you know what's available to you, 10-15 minutes tops. The last section is all the crunch required to actually play the game. Some folks like to hop down here first to get a feel for the system before building their character, but there's also this little intro section at the top that includes a basic overview of the core check mechanics. My personal advice? Build your character based on the information in the character generation chapters. If you do, chances are pretty good the character is going to perform the way you intended them to when it comes to actual gameplay, and you won't be guilty of trying to skew the rules to fit your character or vice versa. For this video, we're going to leap right into the character generation chapters. When you go to do this yourself, you'll need a character sheet, which you can get from the back of the book or off hsdroleplayinggame.com. Right here in front, you'll see a list of soft scores for easy reference. Beginning on the next page is a character generation rundown where you can get started building your actual character. Characters break down in the following ways. You have a family, which determines your general body shape and provides you with a few bonuses and characteristics. A species, which refines your image and gives you a few proficiencies you're inherently talented at. A morphism, which provides rules for unique anatomy and allows you to customize your shape and behavior a little bit. A statistics section, which is where you'll find all the dots that represent your character's mental and physical presence in the world. A scholarship section, which is where you'll fill all the dots to represent your character's skill sets and education, basically what they can do. A focus area, which gives you an array of special abilities to give your character that extra punch when they need it. A motivation, which is a narrative tool to help guide your character's behavior and rewards them for being themselves. A ledger section, which dictates your character's income and facilitates their growth. HSD uses cash as its primary means for acquisition, so the ledger holds the rules for most of that process. And lastly, the equipment section, which will give you a chance to buy some of the starting gear with all that money you just received filling out your ledger. Alright, all set? Here we go. Begin by choosing your family. Your choice will provide you with 1 bonus to a stat box and 1 unique ability that can help you in specific situations. For our example, I'm just going to start with Canidae. You can see here that it gives me +1 to body strength, so I'll go ahead and enter that on my sheet. And I get +1 dice when testing against exhaustion and fatigue. That's a built-in thing, so I'm just going to keep it in mind rather than writing it down. Below it, though, I'm given a choice to select 1 or none of the following abilities. For canines, it's loyalty or lone wolf. Both these abilities have a bonus and a negative associated with them, usually associated with your behavior or the way you behave in social situations. You can pick one or choose not to. I'll go with loyalty and write it down here. The family chapter includes descriptions, stereotypes, and histories for all the available families, so you'll have plenty of background to aid your selection. Next is species. Each of the families, excluding the birds due to an unfortunate happenstance in their lore, have 4 species options and a sort of wild card which lets you play a variant of your own. With canines, I have fox, wolf, coyote, jackal, and dog, which is the catch-all for any breed of domesticated canine you might want to play. Each of these species options includes a single dot and a specific proficiency, indicating that that particular species is innately good at that particular activity. I'm going to go with dog for this example, so I get that point in express, and I'll mark it here. I also get 2 bonus points that I can put anywhere, but I can't stack them. I'm not sure what I want to do with this character yet, so I'm just going to hang on to those points until I get to the scholarship section and nail down exactly what this character is going to be good at. In the lore, the second generation vector production phase was riddled with errors that produced a large number of anatomical mix-ups. These anomalies are known as morphisms, and they can allow you to have unique anatomical features like tauric bodies, hybrid shapes, odd fur patterns and sizes, and even not being humanoid at all. Every character has to pick a morphism, but if you don't want to pick one of the ones that make you look peculiar, the first option is a choice between plantigrade and digigrade legs. Basically, it just means you're a perfectly normal vector and your legs either end with soles on the ground like a human, or on paw-like toes. Your choice. I'm going to go with this morphism for this example. Morphisms provide bonuses and minuses, and this particular morphism provides me with a bonus proficiency point. I've got those two from the species section kind of waiting in the wings for me to use, so I'm going to hold this one up here too. Morphisms also provide me with a motivation ability, which is a combat mechanic directly related to how my body is shaped. There's a spot to write that down in your combat sheet if you want to. Time for stats. This is the stuff that describes your character's physical existence in the world. On your character sheet, you can see 2 stat blocks, mind and body, community and economy. Select one block to receive 8 points, and one block to receive 6 points. No trait, that's the horizontal parts, acuity, resilience, strength, etc., can have more than 3 dots at startup. That includes the bonus dot you got for your family. In my case, it was in body strength. Complete descriptions of which traits do what are in this chapter. I'm also going to be choosing my stat dice here. 2 of these columns are going to get d10s, 1 will get d12s, and 1 will get d8s. Those are the dice I'll roll whenever I need to make a check using one of these traits. If you want more details on that, check out the 8, 10, 12 system video on the YouTube channel or on hsdroleplayinggame.com. Scholarship is where you define what your character knows. It also helps you pick out a bit of your character's history, so this chapter is one of the ones somewhat dependent on having read at least the corpse section of the lore. Proficiencies come in 5 ranks, and you'll be distributing points among them based on which corp your character is learned under. Each of these corporate entities teach different things. You'll pick 2, a primary and a secondary. The primary represents which corp town you grew up in. The secondary represents which corp your character moved into once they grew up. They can be the same place if you'd like. Your primary choice awards you 8 proficiency points to distribute among any of the things they teach. I'm going to pick Pulse for my primary, so I can distribute 8 points among any of these proficiencies. Nothing is allowed to be above 3 at startup, and I'm limited to how many I can have at 3 by my mind strength score. On this character, that's a 2, so I'll want to be pretty selective in which proficiency I want to crank up to 3 because I'm only getting 2 of them. There we go. My secondary is going to be Spyglass, and I get 6 dots to distribute among its proficiencies instead of 8 because it's the secondary choice. Like so. I've had 3 proficiency points kind of sitting off to the side since we began this process, 2 from my species and 1 for my morphism. Now that I can kind of see where my character is going, I have a better idea of where I want those points to end up, so I'm going to put them on now. The ones I got from my species came with a caveat. They can't be in the same proficiency, so I'll spread them out. I'll toss the one from my morphism up on top of another one that I already had in here to boost it up a bit. Just a reminder, not every morphism awards a proficiency point. That was just specific to the one that I picked. Make sure you read up on what yours gives you. Lastly, having some experience and time logged with these corps gives me a little bit of clout with them, so I get 1 allegiance point with each of the corps I selected. Those points impact how I'm treated by those entities out in the world. Focus abilities come next, and they reflect your character's ability to leverage their knowledge in adverse situations. If you look at your character sheet, you'll notice that the proficiencies you selected fall into different focus groups. If any of those focus groups have a 3-dot proficiency in them, your character has sunk enough effort into that particular field that they can whip up some pretty dramatic effects on demand. We represent that with a focus ability. This character has 3 dots in athletics, which is in the general focus section. I've got a list of different abilities to choose from here, so I'll read through them and snag the one that best reflects my character. I'll grab the Ready for Anything power in this example. You'll get to pick up more of these as time goes on, but when you start you only get 1, and that's assuming you have 3 dots at a proficiency. Motivation is a narrative tool to help you direct the behavior of your character. It includes a simple bonus mechanic for acting in line with your motivation. You've got a few options here that reflect various motivators that compel your character to act. strictly speaking, it is possible to not have a motivation, but chances are pretty good your character is going to get shot at a few times over the course of their adventure, and it's kind of hard to justify taking that risk if they really don't have a force driving them to be out there. The ledger is a larger feature once you actually finish a game session than it is at the beginning, but its primary job right now is to provide you with your starting cash. You begin by computing your ledger score, which is just your economy presence and your economy strength combined. Then you multiply that number by the result of a D8 roll. The result of your multiplication is your starting credits. You've got a little safety net here. If you roll lower than your economy strength plus your community presence, you count that roll as +1 that sum. It basically represents that even if you have horrible dice luck, your character's history does not reflect them being flat broke at the start of an adventure. When you're starting your character up, you do this multiplication 3 times, which gives you 3 separate figures. One of these totals will be applied toward weapons and armor, one of these totals will be applied toward general equipment, and one will be held in savings, which is intended to give characters a boost toward their first big purchase without letting them have it right off the bat. You get to choose which of the 3 sums goes where. The last part of character creation process is spending that cash on fresh, shiny equipment for your character. Not much explanation required here, you just go shopping and enjoy. Your guide may impose equipment limitations depending on their settings, so it's best to do all the buying as a group in case house rules are in effect. Once you're done, you can just go back to your character sheet and fill in the blanks. Most of them are soft scores based on stats you chose earlier. And there you go. Your first HSD character is complete. Try not to get them killed. Or at least make it entertaining.